Alfred Naro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The member who's just taken his seat, has raised some issues of concern, and we would agree that when we look at this bill, we need to be mindful of that. But, Mr. Speaker, I rise to take up a call, and I want to actually state that, Mr. Speaker, this is more than just legislation. And the reason I say that is that because in 2011, when the Minister took on board to consult with the New Zealand public, this is what she actually said in her ministerial forward. Welcome to the single most important debate this country can have. It's about New Zealand's most vulnerable children, about how we care for and protect them, the trade-offs and sacrifices we're prepared to make, and the opportunities we want them to have. It's about how we ensure every child thrives, belongs and achieves. And I want to state that, Mr. Speaker, because we can just look at this as one part of legislation in which we are partaking in and wanting to pass through into our select committee work that we'll have. But I think, Mr. Speaker, we'll miss the point, and those New Zealanders that are out there will need to hear that this is a vision statement that's been set by this government, and particularly by the Minister, and hence the reason why it has the support of the majority of the parties that are here, because all of us would agree that this is an important issue. Mr. Speaker, I think it's important that in this vision statement, in the consultation document that went out, it set out 4 key planks that I think are really important because, Mr. Speaker, what's important is that the process is equal to the end result. The integrity of a process is equal to its process in ensuring that it's followed through with the recommendations, what's been heard by the public. So here's the 4 key planks of their consultation document from 2011 in July to 2012. It stated this: in addressing the issues of vulnerable children, it's about shared responsibilities. In other words, it's not just about government, it's about parents and caregivers. It's about the services that are in our communities and ensuring that they deliver the best possible services. It's about showing leadership, so that as a government, we show leadership by having a children's action plan. So from the consultation document, that's a green paper, into the white paper, here's the leadership that this government is making. It's about legislation changes. And so we're here today in the first reading of the Vulnerable Children's Bill and to discuss this about the legislation changes. But I don't want it to be missed in the overall vision in which we're trying to address the issues that are affecting our children that are vulnerable. It's also working with whānau, with hapu, with iwi and our Māori leaders as well. 2 other things that are important, Mr. Speaker. It talks about child-centred policy. In other words, it's reviewing the government spend and allocation. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, it's talking about child-centred practice. In other words, what are the practices, what are best practices that are delivered to improve the conditions of children? Mr. Speaker, here's where it becomes really important. What the government is saying, what the Minister is saying in particular is this: we can't expect the changes of our communities, both the services they deliver, and also to those that are our families and our vulnerable children, unless we, as a government department, are willing to change ourselves. In other words, the changes also need to come from the inside out. It's a whole systems approach. I finally want to respond and just acknowledge Jacinda Ardern and also to Mr. Prasad when they talked about we need to take a broader perspective. I look forward to our select committee where we can talk about a number of the measures in which we as a government are addressing that. But I want to just finish off by saying this. Is one thing about talking about the outputs. We can talk about the investment and the spend that we're making. We can talk about some of the shifts and changes we're making in that. We can tick them off as outputs. But what really will be telling that truly does make the difference is transformational outcomes. And I think that we're going to see that. What we're going to see, and we look forward to the debate, is when we sit down, we see the investment that we've made, we see the whole system change that's taking place. But most importantly, can we track it down to the narrative of change, of transformational changing that's happening in the whole system, all the way down to our vulnerable children as well? That's what I look forward to. I know that New Zealanders are looking forward to the debate. We look forward to the submissions and also to the opportunity in the Select Committee. Mr. Speaker, I really look forward to more than just this legislation and this bill, but the ongoing vision that this Minister has for our vulnerable children, our families and Aotearoa. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Phil Twyford, 5 minutes.